The date, December 18, 1978. A man named Farnell Stacks Edwards sat down to enjoy some chicken, but just as he started eating, he heard quiet footsteps behind him. And before he knows it, he was shot multiple times from the back by a mysterious figure in his apartment. But why did this happen? Let me explain. The story starts off with a teenage kid named Jimmy Burke. Jimmy Burke was raised in foster homes. He went from one abusive foster home to the next, eventually settling with the Burke family in Queens, New York. Here, he would spiral into the world of crime. He would go in and out of prison. However, eventually in the 1950s, Jimmy's whole life changes. He gains the attention of a man named Paulie Vario, which would be life-changing for Jimmy because Paulie Vario belongs to the Lucchese Mafia family. The Lucchese family is a vicious criminal family known for their dominance in crime in parts of New York. They are one of 5 families that dominate the Italian-American mafia scene in New York. Jimmy Burke starts doing side jobs for the Lucchese family. Eventually, Jimmy gets introduced to his associate Henry Hill. They work on crimes together and give each other advice. A few years later, during the early months of 1978, an employee at the JFK Lufthansa Airport, Louis Werner, gets an idea. Let me steal from the JFK Airport. I know what you're thinking about right now. The JFK Airport does not keep any money unlike a bank, but actually, during certain times of the year, the cargo terminal area of the airport houses a fortune of money, generated from ticket sales and imported jewelry. The reason why Louis Werner wants to pull off this heist so badly is because he owes $20,000 in gambling debt to a man named Martin Krugman. Louis Werner goes to Martin Krugman, a shady businessman that owns a man's-only salon in Queens. Louis tells Krugman about the potential of a heist at the Lufthansa airport in hopes of clearing his debt. However, Martin Krugman just happens to be an associate of the Lucchese crime family, so he passes this information to Henry Hill. Henry Hill goes to Jimmy Burke and informs him about the heist. Jimmy Burke becomes the mastermind of the heist. He gets crucial inside information from Martin Krugman and also from another man that works as a supervisor at the Lufthansa airport named Joe Buda. Jimmy Burke carefully plans this heist. He studies the security cameras, the vault system, the alarms, and he even plans the heist such that most of the cargo area staff will be on lunch break when they pull off the heist. Jimmy selects 6 average gang members to pull off this heist. He selects Joe Buda and he selects Farnell Stacks Edwards as the getaway driver. He also selects 4 other people. But the thing is, Farnell Stacks will actually mess up after the heist, and this will cost him his life. Jimmy Burke and Henry Hill were allegedly not involved in the heist itself. They were both allegedly involved only in the planning and in the aftermath of the heist. At 3 a.m., December 11, 1978, a black Ford Ecoline 150 stops outside the Lufthansa airport cargo warehouse. Several armed men leave the van and rush towards the fence. They cut the padlock with a pair of bolt cutters and they make their way towards the lunchroom. They coerce the employees into the lunchroom. Then they force the night shift manager to disable the alarms while he's being held hostage. The manager is then taken to the storage area. Then he is forced to open the double-door vault system. After he opens the vault, 2 thieves transport the large sums of money and jewelry into the van. In total, they stole $6 million, equivalent to $36 million in today's time. At 4:21 a.m., the thieves tell the employees that they should call the cops only at 4:30 a.m. The thieves leave the airport, then they get into the van, then they drive to a warehouse in Brooklyn. The warehouse is owned by a man named John Gotti. He is the captain of the Gambino crime family. The Gambino crime family would receive a cut of $200,000. At the warehouse, the thieves transport the money into 2 other cars. Then the cars were driven away to someplace else. While they were at the warehouse, Jimmy Burke had been waiting for them there. He instructed Farnell Stacks Edwards to dispose of the van at a nearby junkyard, but he failed to do so. A few days later, Farnell illegally parked the van in front of his girlfriend's apartment. Then the van gets discovered by the police. The police obtained fingerprints and they were able to link the van to Farnell Stacks Edwards. When Jimmy Burke finds out about this, he fears that he might get caught, since he is associated with Farnell Stacks Edwards. So he orders Henry Hill and another man from the heist to go take him out. Farnell Stacks Edwards gets killed in his apartment while he was eating chicken. The police later finds his body. He is the first of many people that will be killed. After the heist, Martin Krugman received his share of $50,000. However, Martin Krugman feels like he deserves more money, since he provided crucial inside information about the heist. Martin Krugman goes to Jimmy Burke. He demands an extra $500,000 for his involvement in the heist. But this would be a big mistake. It is believed that only a month after the heist, during January 1979, Martin Krugman gets killed by Jimmy Burke and another man at a factory. However, Martin Krugman was only classified legally dead in 1986 because his body was never found. Around the same time as the death of Martin Krugman, Joe Buda was facing murder charges of his own. Jimmy was concerned that Joe might cooperate with the cops, leading to his downfall. And it's not just that, Joe Buda was spending recklessly, even though he was told to keep a low profile to attract less attention. A few months later, during May 16, 1979, at a neighborhood in Brooklyn, Joe Buda and a friend of his who is also related to the heist gets shot dead by Jimmy Burke's associate. The police finds his body that same day. Over the next couple of months, many people that were involved with the heist were killed, either because they were living a flashy lifestyle, or because they had other charges against them. However, that same year in 1979, Louis Werner, the inside man, gets arrested. He gets interviewed by the FBI, and he snitches on his associates to reduce his prison sentence from 15 years to just 5 years. He also enters the witness protection program with his wife so that he does not get killed. But even though he snitched, it wasn't enough to convict Jimmy Burke of the crime. Over the next couple of years, Jimmy Burke would go in and out of prison for other crimes that he would commit, but it was nothing significant. However, his luck would soon run out. In 1980, Henry Hill gets arrested at the JFK airport for narcotics charges, which is an ironic place for him to get arrested, considering the fact that he just staged a heist there. He would then choose to cooperate with the cops, becoming an FBI informant, then snitching on Jimmy Burke, bringing light to the many other crimes that he has committed. 2 years later, in 1982, Jimmy Burke would get arrested for plotting a college basketball point shaving scheme, whereby he would have agreements with some basketball players so that they would deliberately play poorly, so that he could closely win bets, therefore making money. He was put on trial, then he was found guilty and sentenced to 12 years in prison. While serving his sentence, he was charged for the murder of a man named Richard Eaton. Richard Eaton was a drug dealer. He stole $250,000 from Jimmy Burke, leading to his murder. He was killed in 1979. The charges were largely based off Henry Hill's testimony. Jimmy is found guilty and sentenced to an extra 20 years to life in prison. He later died in prison during 1996 because he had cancer. As for Henry Hill, in the following years, he would go in and out of prison for narcotics charges, but he would eventually turn his life around during the late 2000s. He would go on to publish books. He would feature in documentaries, and he even started his own restaurant, but it burned down. In 2012, Henry Hill died at the age of 69, leaving behind his amazing legacy. This is what Henry Hill looks like in real life, and this is what Jimmy Burke looks like in real life. This is what the other people involved with the heist look like in real life. In total, an approximate number of 15 people were killed after the heist, which is so insane that the movie Goodfellas is inspired by this heist.